One of the themes that we'll keep revisiting in this series is the potential for Bermuda-led solutions to climate change challenges. Among the key figures on the front lines of that mission is Andy MacFarlane, head of climate at AXA XL. My colleague Dianne Brewer asked him about the insurance industry's role in climate risk mitigation.
The way we think about it is really in three areas. Through the investments we make, we get premiums in, we have assets that we need to invest, so we have an opportunity to invest those in ways that are responsible, and we have a commitment to increase our green investments to the order of 26 billion euros by 2025. It's also around the risks that we take from an underwriting side of things, looking to encourage green business in areas providing mitigation against climate change, adaptation against climate change, promoting the circular economy, and protecting against biodiversity loss. So looking to set targets and really grow that part of the portfolio. And then it's the actions that we take as a company through training our staff, as well as through setting commitments around reducing our own emissions. So really in those three key areas.
Asked what makes Bermuda so well placed to mitigate climate risk, Mr. MacFarlane cited the strong relationships between insurance, local business, the regulator, and government, and a surfeit of on-island intellectual capital.
One in particular area where Bermuda is a leader is in the property cat space. Born out of the devastating events of Hurricane Andrews and Katrina, Rita, and Wilma, the property cat market has become a mainstay of the Bermuda economy. The skills, expertise, and capital that exists in the market puts Bermuda in a strong position to react and respond to those changing demands that we will see from a changing climate. So I think that strong relationship between government, the regulator, and industry, and that innovative mindset, I think Bermuda has a real advantage.
Climate change creates the potential for unprecedented catastrophe losses in the coming years. And we asked Mr. MacFarlane, how is this changing the way his industry does business?
We know that the risk is changing across the world, right? We know that more and more communities are exposed to the impacts of a changing climate, but insurance penetration, that's the proportion of people who go out and buy insurance, is not very high globally. What we need to do as an industry is we need to be better at articulating that value that insurance brings to the global economy. We've seen unprecedented losses over the past few years driven by natural catastrophes, changes across all three of those components that I mentioned, the hazard, the exposure, and the vulnerability, that has driven up economic losses, and the gap between economic losses and insured losses is called the protection gap, and that gap's widening. It costs more to replace homes, more people getting impacted, but insurance penetration is not increasing at the rate. So that gap is growing. But we know that insurance is value. We know after storms here, homes are rebuilt. But how do we demonstrate that value across more areas of the world? How do we bring insurance into areas where there is low penetration? How do we help close that protection gap? I think that's a real opportunity for us as an industry.
Whereas environmental sustainability was seen by some industries and countries as a costly burden, it's now more widely regarded as an economic opportunity.
The decisions that you and I make, the products we choose to buy, companies are recognizing that they need to react and they need to be more responsible to attract and retain their customers.
But even as more people are thinking green, the urgency for change is growing.
The climate time bomb is ticking.
Greenhouse gas concentrations and CO2 emissions have continued an upward trend.
As a society, we've become a lot more efficient in the way that we produce energy, in the way that we produce goods, but that demand for energy just continues to grow, right? So we haven't quite hit the right level where the efficiency gains that we're looking for are greater than that increase in demand so that we see overall emissions reduce. It's stark. In order to hit net zero goals by 2050, we need to have peak emissions by 2025. So emissions for the globe need to start reducing from 2025. That's just in 2 years' time. We need to take action, and we need to take action now.
And Mr. MacFarlane says this problem must be tackled with a global, equitable approach, ensuring that low-income countries are not left behind in the green tech revolution.
How do we as a society ensure that there's a just transition, that as we evolve and as we move and as we develop, that technology makes its way to communities that also need it, and protects those communities which haven't contributed to the problem.
With more than 90% of global GDP now covered by a net zero target, billions of dollars are being invested in green tech. Mr. MacFarlane says this is another area where Bermuda can innovate.
There's an opportunity for Bermuda to position itself to take both sides, two bites of the cherry on the investment side, and how do we react on the underwriting side. So accessing that innovative side of Bermuda is a real opportunity for us as that market for green and clean tech scales up and develops. So a real opportunity on that side of things.